Hey, welcome back to Ask Ben, where I answer your training-related questions. So today's question is related to ice baths, cryotherapy, cold exposure, and it's why is the research inconclusive about these things? So this question came from Phil Taylor. He said, "Hey Ben, I've heard you talk about the benefits of techniques like cold showers or ice baths, yet there are many studies published that show ice baths do not speed recovery. Are these studies flawed, or by what means can you ignore the results of these studies?" So he's kind of getting at like, hey, your opinion of these things doesn't line up with the research. Why is that? So to start off, the research is correct. So in general, most of the time, ice baths are going to in fact slow recovery, not speed it up. And the most simple way that we can explain this is think about what happens if you're doing an ice bath. You are adding a stressor onto the stressor that you've already had. So not only does now maybe your system have to deal with you doing burpees and snatches and muscle ups, now it has to deal with you also getting into a really cold environment and has to deal with you getting back up to baseline to your normal body temperature, right? So the only way, I say most of the time, is the only way that an ice bath, or let's just call it cool water immersion rather than cold, something like that, is when the only time that's going to work is when you're coming back down to baseline and you're accelerating your body and getting back to homeostasis. So for example, if you're, say, in a really hot environment, like if you're working out in California in the summer and you're in Death Valley and you jump into something that is cool right after your workout and your core temperature's up, and it helps bring your core temperature faster back down to baseline, back down to homeostasis, that's going to aid you in recovering faster, right? However, if you do the opposite, where now you're already at a normal core temperature and now you're like throwing something like cold water onto yourself, or getting a cold water immersion or ice bath or cryotherapy, anything like that, it's going to again shut down all your capillaries that are actually like delivering substrate, removing waste. It's going to slow that whole process down, and I don't buy the inflammation idea either, because number one, we can deal with those things more effectively through movement and stress inoculation and just recovery as a whole. But there's so many other ways that is not actually benefiting you as a system by shutting your blood flow and lymph flow down. So we want to keep all that peripheral circulation going as long as we possibly can. And again, most of the time, that's not going to get a benefit from exposing yourself to, again, another stressor on top of that. So at this point, you're probably thinking like, man, I really think this guy really hates ice baths. And that's not true at all. Like, I actually like all these things as tools in the right case. And most of the time, people don't necessarily need to recover better from an individual workout. They need to recover better as a whole and develop qualities that allow them to get better over the course of the long run. So a helpful way to explain this is through aerobic workouts and recovery. People who have a better developed aerobic system recover faster. That's a fact. It's supported by research, and I don't think anyone's probably arguing that fact. However, if someone would say, okay, if that's the case, I'm just going to start doing a bunch of aerobic work after all of my workouts, and I'm going to recover really well. Actually, the opposite is going to be true. They added another stressor on top of their training that they're already doing, so potentially now they're unable to recover from that stress and adapt to it, and they're potentially going to get worse. Whereas, if we think about that in the short term, that's actually going to have no benefit at all, just like I was talking about the ice baths. However, if we're thinking about it in terms of long term, what qualities can I develop within my body to be able to get myself to be more resilient and have better functioning as a whole, so that I can recover faster from things that are stressful? If we're talking about long-term adaptation versus short-term relief, one of the things that we can compare this to is just kind of, let's slosh through a workout like in like a kind of sloppy end piece because it's aerobic work and it's going to help me recover. That's not going to be helpful, and all the research would yield to that. However, if we're talking about, okay, what things can I do to create sustainability and to be able to create a long-term, better functioning aerobic system with a long-term approach and mentality to it, where we're, again, moving with intention, then that's going to have an extreme benefit over the long term and a better recoverability factor along with that. We could say the exact same thing with ice baths or cold showers. Let's just take cold showers, for example. If we take cold showers and the goal is not to, oh yeah, I'm going to suffer through this so that I can get some short-term benefit. Rather, I'm going to do this as a practice, as a way for me to teach myself how to deal better with my nervous system response. So rather than me getting into a stressful situation and freaking out and not being able to cope or handle with that stress and not being able to inoculate myself to that stress, I am now going to be able to cope with this stress better through how I breathe, through how I respond, through what things I think about, through my self-talk, through my visualization, through all of these things. If I can start to do that, that's now a long-term development, a long-term adaptation to that stressor rather than sort of some like short-term hack that I'm trying to get through. So the goal with all these things is to create learning. If we can create learning through ice baths, through cryotherapy, through cold exposure, where we are now better able to handle stress day to day, we are then going to improve our recovery because of that. We'll now have better parasympathetic dominance. We'll be in rest and digest longer, and we'll recover faster from workouts because we learn how to breathe, we learn how to manipulate our state so that we never actually get as stressed from doing the exact same things. And we can apply that to not the cold, but to our workout. And now we're doing better than we ever have before as a long-term adaptation, not as a short-term hack. And this is one of the things that the fitness industry, I hate about it, is that everyone goes after the short-term hacks. They don't want to take the time to produce the long-term adaptation. So regardless if we're thinking about ice baths or aerobic work or any of the number of factors, figure out where the money is, where the long-term adaptation, where you can apply your grind, and that's going to have a benefit for you rather than trying to hack your way through in the short term. So thanks for listening, and as always, head over to ZOARfitness.com for fitness articles, movement breakdowns, and one-on-one coaching for the sport of fitness. We'll see you next time.